Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Mondays Down South. As you can see, we have some new faces on the podcast today. It looks like Zach picked up some fellow Falcons buddies and also a Chiefs fan, which I'm very excited about, and I will 100% be talking about that later and yapping since these two hear it every week from me. With that being said, I want to pay due respect to these guys. It sounds like you guys had a great night last night watching the Falcons get a W. Shout out to them. I'm glad that Zach is creating more Falcons bonds so we don't have to question his Falcons fandom, and maybe he's slowly convincing us he isn't as much of a Panthers fan as we thought. But I guess maybe Jared will confirm or deny that. So Zach, if you want to introduce your friends and you guys want to jump in, and we'll take over from there. Go ahead.
Awesome. Great intro, Sai. Hey, super excited. The first guest of our 4th season of Mondays Down South. First guest, Jared and Sierra. I want to say Crab House, but really Silverman. Well, right now, Jared Silverman.
There's a story.
Yes, I was about to say, we will get into the Crab House story, but ultimately, super excited to have you both on. We watched the Atlanta Falcons take on the Philadelphia Eagles in Lincoln Financial Field. It was an epic matchup. For anybody who missed it, that's unfortunate because you missed a high-quality game late at night on Monday night. 22-21 was the final score. Philadelphia, although a little bit of a back and forth, Philadelphia really started to pull away with the game, or at least seemed like it, in the late 3rd to early 4th. Then Mr. Kirk Cousins pulls off the drive of the year with 0 timeouts, a minute 39 left, storms back, hitting different receivers, ending with a Drake London touchdown. And then also what sealed the game was a Jesse Bates interception. The reason why I needed Jared and Sarah on this podcast instantaneously after this game was because Jared and I literally predicted both of those things to happen. And if you don't believe me, we have receipts and we have videos that maybe we'll even associate with Mondays Down South and throw on our platform. But ultimately, we picked Drake London to score that touchdown to put us up 22-21. Although Young Ho Koo, shout out for kicking like a 50-something yard field goal because of celebration penalties. And then Jesse Bates picks off Jalen Hurts to seal the deal for the first Falcons victory of the season. What an incredible game. I'm going to send it over to Jared and Sierra to introduce themselves and also possibly talk about this Crab House story. And then finally, I want to hear about their thoughts from the game, as Sierra was secretly recording us without our realization, which ended up being the video of the year. So I'll turn it over to you guys. Jared and Sierra, what's up?
How's it going, guys? Thanks for having us. So where do we start? So I'm Jared. This is Sierra. So we started dating back in college. We've been together for 6 years. Just got engaged a little over a year ago. So yeah, cheers.
Cheers to that.
So after college, we worked in a lot of different restaurants, but where we met was freshman year, and it was at the Charleston Crab House on the Market Street. And the next thing you know, she told me that because I had earrings at the time, we said, yeah, I'm not interested. So a year later, she stumbles by my house on a random night. She's drunk, and we decided to grab lunch, and it all started at the Crab House. So here we are. For the past year, we've been running and starting our own different brands. We're in the branding and advertising space with content creation, direct-to-consumer brands. We're actually drinking one of our brands right now, Sandinista and Palm Pouch. Little flash. But outside, that's a little bit about us, but we are diehard football fans. We love, eat, breathe, drink football, and you'll catch us at night scrolling through fantasy football, talking about, who's going to pick up the waiver wire. The thing that I regret sometimes is I actually introduced fantasy football to Sierra, and in a way, I regret it but most guys, think it's a fantasy because their girl watches football with them. But I'll let her explain why I regret introducing her to fantasy football and the world of football.
Yeah. So, hey guys, I'm Sierra. I actually grew up in the South, and when you grow up in the South, it's mostly college football. So I didn't watch NFL not a single day of my life. And then we got together. It was like every Sunday, Monday, Thursday. And I'm like, geez, I got to get into something, or all my hours with him are just wasted. So I'm very competitive, and I was like, you know what, I'll join a league. Sure, why not? I had the time of my life, and I'm proud to say that I am 2 out of 4 years fantasy champion.
Oh.
So this really keeps me going. But I actually grew to love and appreciate the game, so that's where we are now.
I can't wait till she explains how she became a Chiefs fan. But anyways, I'm a diehard Falcons fan.
Why not?
I've been a diehard Falcons fan since a little boy. My first jersey, or actually before I got my first jersey, I was in preschool. I lived in Buckhead, and this kid, his name was Brett. I remember him to this day. I don't know what he looks like now or where he's at, but his name's Brett. And for my birthday, he gave me one of those vintage Atlanta crew necks for my birthday. And ever since that day, I was a diehard Falcons fan, no matter where I went. And I went to a lot of places: Long Island, New York, Northern Virginia, College of Charleston. I have been a loyal fan of this team since longer than I can remember. And if there's one thing I can explain to anyone who is not a Falcons fan, there's one thing you need to understand. We have been through pain. We have seen pain. You don't know what pain feels like until you have had your franchise quarterback go to prison and then get dealt with Joey fucking Harrington. And then 2 years later, we get Matt Ryan, which, God bless him, he has saved our franchise. And then the best we can do is touch a Super Bowl and then lose it all. We have been through hell and back as a fan base, as a franchise, and as a team. And I cannot wait to talk about the significance of last night's win, because it was more than just a win on a Monday Night Football game. The Chiefs play on Monday night every week, every year on the season, Monday night, Sunday night. There's no specialty if they lose. So what? The Falcons had no primetime games at all last year. This was our first time to show the entire country what this team is made of, all the hype. People can finally stop laughing at us that we're like these optimistic freaks that don't actually have any sense of reality when it comes to football. I honestly to God believe last night showed the world that the Atlanta Falcons are back. Back from when? I don't know. But I'm very excited to get into it.
It's funny. Video, I was like, this is just a cute little bromance, so I'm going to record it. I was like, no way the Falcons actually pull it off. And then I'm recording it, I'm like, oh, they're pulling it off. And I started to shake a little bit because I'm like, this is actually a good moment. Back from the boys.
And dude, when I set up the phone to record, Zach, I didn't do it with the intention of predicting the picks. It was completely by accident. It was one of those situations where I literally just want to record it just because people needed to see what it's like to be a Falcons fan and ride that emotional roller coaster. Every play is the biggest play. There is not a play that is too small. And it was just so cool. We didn't necessarily predict the money line of the spread. I mean, if you were to ask us, we would have taken the spread on the Falcons, no question. But it was more so the fact that no one would expect the Falcons typically are the Eagles, is the best way to put it.
Love it. Oh my gosh, that's incredible. Sire, I'll turn it over to you. I have so much commentary on this, but Sai and Evan, get your first thoughts out.
I should have probably teed this up earlier. I think Evan won't be speaking as much today because he is a little bit under the weather, and we can totally respect that. Ev, feel free to jump in if you ever have anything you're super passionate about, but no pressure, as I know you got to preserve that voice. In terms of Jared and Sierra, great intros, guys. That was a hilarious introduction. Great story. I didn't realize we had a South Carolina connection as a Gamecock. I didn't know we had some College of Charleston affiliations, and so I love Charleston. I go down. I was there for my buddy's wedding a few months ago, so that's pretty awesome. It explains the Southern nature. So you guys are giving me some nostalgia right now. That is awesome. I love that you guys are Falcons and Chiefs fans. I appreciate that you guys are split, but then support each other. I think that's dope. Fantasy football is a massive part of my life, as these two know. So I'm in 9 leagues. I've been in double digits in the past. So to see someone who has also gotten really into it recently, that I really appreciate that. I will also say it is nice seeing you guys have real fans, supporting games, not having to pump in crowd noise, not having to watch, I had to blame you, man. You came on the
Oh
podcast.
my gosh.
Man.
Man, you already start the jabs.
We have to. You're on the podcast. We got to give you a little bit of crap. No, all jokes aside, it's great seeing real passion behind a team that has been lost since the Julio Matt Ryan days. It's been a minute since we've seen that kind of excitement. And even as someone who isn't some diehard fan of the Falcons, I can appreciate that. I'm enjoying watching you guys play football because you just see the aura of positivity around there. So last night was really fun. But I'm going to let Zach, as the Falcons fan of our podcast, chime in, because obviously that was quite the prediction from y'all. So we got to tip the cap and let y'all get your flowers.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we had the intro with last night. I'm sure we'll circle back to it throughout the course of this podcast. And I also want to hear about Sierra's Jen. Very intrigued about this because not only is my girlfriend a huge Jen fan, but she also from Charleston. So we made a couple trips down there ourselves. But let's get into week 2. Right? I mean, there's so many great matchups from this past weekend. I'm going to kick this one off. And I actually gave, I was talking to Jared about this actually over text, and we'll pick on Carolina and the Chargers, right? Because I think the most significant part from this game, right? Chargers won 26-3. We don't need to spend any more time on it than we need to. But Bryce Young just got benched by Dave Canales. And this is more at large a complaint against pacifying your players who are drafted in really high picks and not playing them in the preseason. Bryce Young didn't play a snap in the preseason, and here is the outcome and the quality outcomes that you receive. So that's just my hill to die on here with that matchup. I'll turn it over to Jared and Sierra, see what they think about the matter, and then we'll go on to another matchup.
Yeah. You want to take this one first? The truth is that I have nothing to debate you on. I think Bryce Young has, as a first overall pick, is a quarterback that needs to show something. Flashes of whether are you going to be a runner, are you going to be a deep threat, are you going to be in the short term? He didn't have any identity. No one really knew what Bryce Young was good at because he didn't show or excel in any category. And the whole offense has been stale. But to be honest with you, as a Falcons fan, looking at Carolina, I'm excited to look at our future. When I look at Carolina's, I'm over there thinking, oh my Lord. Like, I feel bad for Carolina as a Falcons fan. Like, we just went through this quarterback carousel, but the difference is we didn't throw away our future to get Desmond Ridder, right? Desmond Ridder and Bryce Young. I mean, tell me the difference between the two guys. We got ours for a third round, got rid of him the next year. So as far as the matchup goes, all I'm going to say is, as far as Carolina, I think what you're going to see is Andy Dalton is actually going to perform extremely well and exceed all expectations. I think Andy Dalton is actually going to move the ball up the field. I don't think the running game changes at all. But I'm not a stat god here, but the offensive line held up pretty well for Bryce Young in week 2 and in week 1. I think there was a buddy that we watched the game with yesterday who said that they have the top 3 best offensive line. You put a veteran behind that with enough time to find Deontay Johnson, Adam Thielen's getting open. I like Carolina to get better, but I definitely think there's going to be some locker room issues because a lot of people came in with the expectation Bryce Young would be the future, and now he's not.
Here's where I differ from basically the rest of media and everybody else that I know. I have watched every group message that I'm in. I've watched every YouTube video. Sit down and just destroy Bryce. Be like, he's done. He will never be successful again. And I get it because, we've seen plenty of quarterbacks get drafted really high. For example, Zach Wilson, and never turn into anything special. But we've also seen a lot of quarterbacks get drafted, struggle early, whether it's year 1, year 2, take their time and maybe come back and actually be startable quarterbacks in the NFL. Is he still going to be a Hall of Famer? Probably not. I'm not going to sit here and think that he's still going to be. But is his career over? That's where I think I disagree with a lot of people. I think Canales' move of sitting him is smart. And it's not about pacifying, in my opinion. I understand your take, Zach. It's not about pacifying for me. What it is he is making mistakes that he should not, like, that he's capable of not making. You know what I mean? Like, the throws that he's missing are throws that he used to make with his eyes closed at Alabama. Like, because he had superb confidence in himself and his team around him to go win. I think after year one, getting beat up, all this like pressure, week one coming out and running into this buzzsaw situation, he's clearly mentally completely out of it. I mean, Evan was alluding to it in our group message. He looked like he was going to like cry out there. Like he was really struggling. So the way I see it is he might need this mental reset, because I believe Bryce has shown in the past that he can make throws that are pretty elite at times, at least coming into the NFL, right? And for me, I don't want to just completely give up on a guy immediately. I've always been the guy who's willing to die on a hill for the people I support early, because I want to always give him due diligence, especially at the quarterback position. I will still stand here or I'll sit here and I'll defend Bryce in the context of, yeah, he hasn't been great, but I'm not out on him. And I do believe that he will be a manageable or serviceable, and to a certain extent, maybe even a good starter in the future. He's still 22 years old, but he needs to take some time to figure out what he needs, at least mentally, and get himself back to a point where he's confident in himself. Because that is what I see being the biggest issue, not his ability to throw the football. He's missing throws that are easy. It's not because he doesn't have the ability to make those throws. That's the thing I'm seeing right now.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great point. I like the way you phrase it. Like, he was making those throws at Alabama. He's missing throws that he's fully capable of making. But that's enough Bryce Young talk for the day, because I actually have a question for Sierra, and it's about this Bengals Chiefs game, 26-25. Jamar Chase is arguing with the ref, getting flagged for, cursing him out, doing things, costing his team 15 yards. Now, the Chiefs got away with a couple of calls. That's just what I'm seeing on the internet. But we're going from the bad quarterback in Bryce Young to two GOATs and Joe Burrow and Patrick Mahomes. Sarah, did you end up watching this game? What were some of your thoughts? And you guys snuck away with a victory in Arrowhead. Tell me about it.
Yeah, we did. And I know everyone likes to shit on the Chiefs because calls are always favored towards us. But nonetheless, we snuck out a win. I think, with the Bengals, it's always going to be a close game. I don't think that's like any preview of like what the Chiefs can do or how the rest of their season's going to go. I think, the Bengals, it's just always going to be very, very close. Historically, it has been. Burrow versus Mahomes. It's, it's part of the storyline. It's always going to be close.
That's true. Now, did you think that, are there certain players in the Chiefs that you think are like new candidates? Like Rashid Rice had that incredible touchdown reception. Xavier Worthy takes a step forward. Do you think that the Chiefs are better than they were last year, or do you think that they're exactly where they should be?
Oh, absolutely. Last year I feel like no one could catch the ball. Now this year, with Xavier Worthy, I think he could be Tyreek Hill, their new Tyreek Hill. He's super fast, faster than probably Hill, right?
He's the fastest.
He is the fastest.
Mm-hmm.
He's very small, but with that speed, I think over time he's going to be their Tyreek Hill. And then you look at someone like Carson Steele. You got Pacheco out, and I don't want to give any of my week 3 predictions here, but we're going to start to see a bigger role from him. We always call him the Thor of the team. I think he's going to play a much bigger role next week.
She's also failing to mention that she has Xavier Worthy and Rashi Rice starting both in her lineup in our Friends League.
That has nothing to do with skills.
So, huh?
Hey, I think that's
impressive.
That has.
So far, so good.
Talk about both.
No. She's talking positively about that, but she's also telling you that she has full faith in the Chiefs' offense to do whatever they want.
But I never used to, draft Chiefs players. I didn't.
No, that's true. You would only
like this.
Homes from the worst person in the league every year.
I like what Sarah said about Tyreek Hill and Xavier Worthy. I've never put them in the same department, but if you remember in Tyreek Hill's first couple of years, even Jalen Ramsey said this about him. He said, "I'm not worried about Tyreek Hill. He's just a punt returner. He's a special teams player." And Xavier Worthy is kind of like on the end arounds. He's like that slot receiver, but he really could turn into that Tyreek Hill down the road. That's a great point. I never thought about that.
Absolutely. Last year I think we pulled out a lot of wins, but we did struggle a lot, I think, offensively, despite the Super Bowl. But I think with someone like Xavier Worthy, it's exciting again. It's fun. So I'm looking forward to seeing what they can do.
Yeah, I think especially with Worthy being someone with that high skill, Andy Reid is your perfect coach for him, because he's not going to put him in harm's way in the context of making him look bad early in his career. So until he gains that confidence, he puts him in good spots. And then eventually, hopefully he will turn into Tyreek. But shout out to fantasy footballers, because I was listening to their podcast this morning. I listen to them all the time. But they made up this point, and it's a very good point. All the new OCs for these teams that we didn't expect to be great coming into the year have led to 2-0 teams. And I want to give a shout out to them because they're being creative and they're using a lot of motion, which is what's, I think, causing their offenses to be less predictable and giving teams more success. And when I say these three teams, I'm talking about the New Orleans Saints in your division, who I thought the Atlanta was just going to like breeze through, win this division by like 3-4 games, no issues whatsoever. And I still think I'm picking the Falcons to win it, but the Saints look like 10 million times better compared to last year. And a big part of that goes into Kubiak, not Gary, but Clint Kubiak, the son of him. And so far, they've been doing such a good job of not just relying on one or two guys and distributing the ball. And yet guys like Kamara are still getting their own. And even Chris Olave, who had a decent week, Rashid Shaheed has been outplaying him. Like, you're going to see him play better. Yeah. So shout out to them for that. The Seahawks is another example of that. A new offensive coordinator and Ryan Grubb. They're finding ways to win. They're 2-0. And then the Buccaneers, who me and Zach both slept on coming into the year. I think Evan was a little bit more privy to understanding that they might still be good. But Zach and I both slept on them, and they have looked awesome through 2 weeks. But I'd say the biggest one was the Saints just ripping the Cowboys. That was in Jerry World. I mean, come on. I could not have guessed that. That's crazy. That was a great matchup.
That's funny you put that down, because that was one of my highlights of week 2 was, are the Saints really, really good, or are the Cowboys starting to be really, really bad?
Maybe a combination of both. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say the highlight of the week for me was seeing rookie Malik Nabers and Marvin Harrison. Watching the Giants game at 1:00, you saw what Malik Nabers did, and he put on a phenomenal performance. He really did. Like, you can tell just by the way Coach Dabble, the way he talks about Malik Nabers, it's special. He's asking him, hey, what plays should we call for you, dude? Like, nothing else matters for our team except for your future. That's basically what he's saying. And Malik, honestly, I mean, coming out of the draft, you expected Marvin Harrison to be that white-collar guy that everyone loves in the locker room, great for culture. Malik Nabers, from just his media presence and also his performance, phenomenal. However, on the very last play when it all mattered, he dropped the ball.
Yeah.
And I know that he's beating himself up for it. I know he took the blame on, because, to be honest with you, it was in a way his fault. They lost based off that play, but a game is never won or lost based off one play. It never is. Throughout the game, they wouldn't even be in that opportunity if it wasn't for Malik Nabers. So, Malik, if you ever hear this, just know you're the man. Thank you for the 30 fantasy points as well. But with that said, Malik Nabers takes the media by storm. Week 1, rookie wide receiver, this hyped up class, comes out with that performance. And then what do you see next? It didn't take all more than 20 minutes for Marvin Harrison Jr. to erupt in the first quarter for 2 touchdowns right after everyone the week before said you're too slow, 16 miles per hour. Maybe you should get on the treadmill and try to, whatever. I don't know. Whatever it is that happened to Marvin Harrison in the conversation with him and Kyler Murray, there's a reason why I dropped him in another league as my stack. They will figure it out. They will get it, and they figured out in the first quarter, and that was my highlight, is we are seeing 2 rookie wide receivers, both very skillful, and I guarantee you what we're going to see in the media is LeBron James, Michael Jordan. It's going to be this, who's better, and it's going to be this debate for years to come, and instead of having the debate of what's to come, all you have to do is look at it on a week-to-week, Sunday-to-Sunday basis, because it's literally going to show you. If you keep up with it, you'll see each little thing if you really study them. And I'm really excited to see that battle of wide receivers play out. But I do think this wide receiver class is phenomenal, is what we're seeing from week 2.
I love that point. I really do, especially about Marvin Harrison Jr., because Marvin Harrison, this is what's hilarious about this, and I probably shouldn't even be admitting this, but I am. He was my first round pick in my fantasy football draft with my family league. I benched him this week. after he was my first round pick because I had Jalen Waddle, I have Devonta Smith.
I can't do
and
this.
those are my two receivers. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to just drop Marvin Harrison.
Fair, he had 2
I can't do this.
So
He had.
I don't care. You don't draft
I can't do this.
first round to bench him in week 2. I don't give a fuck who it is.
Oh my gosh.
He had one reception.
Zach, I'm sorry. I can't let you finish because this is worth.
No, Jared, I'm with you.
One year. There was one year. In my friend's league up in Virginia. There was 1 year in my league up with my old friends from Virginia. I was logging on my computer, and of course, NFL.com was where we were drafting. If you've ever used it before, I hate it. It's wonky, never refreshes. Don't use it. Anyways, not the point. The point is that I was queuing up a bunch of players this 2 years ago, and one of the most hyped up tight ends at the time was Cole Kmet. And I queued him up in that draft. And for whatever reason, the Wi-Fi went out. My pick skipped over. I get back in the league. And guess who's on my team with the first pick in the first round? Cole Kmet. And Zach, I did not do for 5 weeks. I did not pick Cole Kmet because he was my first round pick. Even though I wouldn't have taken him in the 14th, it didn't matter. It's the principle. You don't bench someone you drafted in the first round, especially Marvin Harrison. But in this case, Cole Kmet proves my point.
I can't believe we have to have this conversation, Zach. That's the most insane thing I've ever heard.
That felt like my stomach turned when I heard him say he didn't start Marvin Harrison Jr. And to be fair, I have some things I should get called out for because I missed on a couple of things coming into this week. But Zach, what the heck, man? Stick to your guns, bro. This is the same thing. Week one, I didn't even mention this earlier. I meant to bring this up. Week 1, Zach was trashing Kirk Cousins and your Falcons, Jared, because he was like, "Oh yeah, like Kirk doesn't look good. We're not going to win with them." And then it flipped around. You got to give people time, man. You got to give them a little bit of time. You got to stop running away from guys too quickly.
So this is where I'm gonna have to just say, in this case, I have to agree with Zach. And look, and I do agree. You have to give people time. You do, but when you use the Falcons as your example, that's the worst example you can give out of any team. Bryce Young, yes, give time. Will Levis, yes, give time. The Falcons, it's been 8 years since our Super Bowl. And since then, 2 years ago with Dan Quinn, or 3 years ago with Dan Quinn, there was a point in time where when we took over, there was 4 games in a row we lost by 1 score. And in each of those games, we had a 98% chance of winning. That was a win probability. Dallas, I think it was the Eagles, Washington even. I mean, it was the most absurd run of games, and someone will have to fact check on what year it was. But that was the time where, like, all hope was lost. Like, we truly were the laughingstock of the NFL. So when we signed Kirk Cousins after Desmond Ridder and Marcus Mariota ruined what the quarterback position means in the NFL, we watched Mariota throw a football as he was going down on the ground in the pouring rain Thursday night here in Charlotte. We had to go there. We witnessed that. We saw what that looks like.
And he quit.
And he quit the week after he got benched. That's the culture we had in our locker room.
Yeah.
So when you say Kirk Cousins from the Minnesota Vikings and the Washington football team, Redskins at the time, is going to come in and change the culture in our locker room. We just got Matthew Judon. We just got Justin Simmons, let alone Bates the year before. Now we have Bijan and Kyle. Now we just need one guy. Raheem Morris said we need one guy. We need a quarterback. And this quarterback just so happens to be a veteran who's a leader. So excuse me when we go into week 1 and you don't score more than, I don't care how many touchdowns you score as long as we score as an offense. But the score we put up against Pittsburgh was atrocious. And he didn't look good. We got to be honest with the fact he didn't look good. And we had a right to question for who's never been in the pistol formation. Hey, Kirk, why are you in the pistol? Are you good? I think we have that right to ask that question in week 1. In week 2, I will be honest. Phenomenal win. The comeback, phenomenal. But early on in the game, there were moments where Zach and I looked at each other and we looked and we weren't confident yet. He didn't show it. It wasn't until Darnell Mooney caught the long ball touchdown where Kirk said, I don't care about my Achilles. I'm here to play fucking football. I'm here to win. And that's what we saw Kirk light it up. That's where we saw Kirk and this team turn it around, and they all had belief that they are the team to win in the NFC this year.
One thing we didn't mention earlier, Evan and I talked about this yesterday throughout text. Saquon and Bijan are probably feeling a little bit of what Malik Neighbors felt yesterday with both of them having incredible games and then just missing plays at the end. But man, was that a running back battle that I wish I could watch every week for the rest of the season. It was beautiful football. And it's also why I know Evan disagrees with me here. This is also why I think, assuming it's an elite running back, someone who can completely transform like the game in terms of the way that they are explosive and can get outside the pocket and everything. That's why I think it's worth investing in. That's why I will always defend the running back, because over the years they've lost a lot of the love they used to receive. I just want to throw that out there too.
Yeah, I'm thinking of actually a question that Sierra asked earlier with, is Dallas really that bad or is the Saints really that good? And I'm going to take that same message and apply it to maybe the final matchup we'll talk about before we switch over to week 3. The Minnesota Vikings just beat the San Francisco 49ers with Sam Darnold. So my question, and Sarah, I can kick it your way, but I also want to hear from Evan if he's willing. I know he's battling a cold right now. Do you think the Minnesota Vikings are really that good? Or do you think that the 49ers are a lot worse and like really need McCaffrey back? What are your thoughts?
Go for it, Sierra.
Well, I don't think McCaffrey being out really affects that much for them in terms of that game. I mean, look at Jordan Mason. They threw him in there and look at what he did. So I don't think we can just pin this all on, McCaffrey being out and injuries. I think we'll need to see a little more from Sam Darnold and what he can do over there, but it's looking pretty good. And I was surprised. I don't know about you guys, but it definitely surprised me a good bit.
I think it fit the storyline.
Yeah.
I think it fit the storyline. He played at San Fran. He was a backup there. He went to a new team with basically saying you have a chance to start. I don't think they drafted JJ knowing for certain he was going to start this year. I think Sam Darnold always had a competitive shot to play. And quite honestly, it's exciting to see someone who was a high draft pick, who had high expectations in one place, see him be moved around and shipped around like a dog and saying, hey, good luck there. Hey, come in for a little bit. Goodbye. But dude, he was, in size, your case that we were saying, the Bryce Young. He was the top tier pick, maybe not first overall. So it's exciting to see players revitalize their career later on, just like Geno Smith, just like these guys. So it is exciting to see that.
Yeah, I was talking to Cy about this game going in, and I think it's been 20 years since San Francisco's beaten Minnesota in Minnesota, which is one of the stats I was worried about this game. And Brian Flores has really given the Kyle Shanahan offense a ton of problems, and he did just that the other day. And I wonder if other teams are now going to be able to adapt to that a little bit, watch the tape, and kind of figure out how to stop them. I think that's going to be really interesting. And I said this last year. I thought Sam Darnold was the best quarterback on the 49ers roster from a talent perspective once he got integrated into that offense. So I'm really riding this Vikings high. You mentioned Superflex before. I'm big on Baker as well. My 2 quarterbacks in Superflex right now are Sam Darnold and Baker Mayfield. It's going about as well as it could. So I think the Vikings are legit. I think they have a pretty good roster. Allison and Jefferson are battling injuries, so that's a big concern. But they'll get Hawkinson back at some point. If Sam Darnold keeps playing like this, they're going to be a problem. So I'm in on the Vikings to an extent, and I'm a little bit concerned about possibly teams picking up on how to beat the 49ers. But I ultimately think it's maybe just a bad matchup that Flores has figured out. And now they're going to be without Debo too, so we'll see how that impacts them. But I'm not too worried about them.
Yeah, I'm going to jump in real quick, too. I think with Debo and with Christian McCaffrey out, I know Jordan Mason's looked awesome, but the way McCaffrey opens up the offense in the passing game, with both of those guys out, we've seen Brock Purdy, when he doesn't have all his weapons, really struggle. So, I mean, assuming those two get healthy long-term, I think 49ers will still be a force to be reckoned with throughout the NFC and in the playoffs, but they could struggle a little bit the next few weeks. The one other thing I wanted to shout out real quick is I can't really pat myself on the back for this because I still picked the Ravens, but I did mention on last week's podcast that Gardner Minshew has had the Ravens number because he just beat them last year with the Colts with the Steichen offense, and then he goes out there with the Raiders and goes and beats Lamar Jackson and the Ravens again this week. That is not a great look for the Ravens. For them to go lose to the Chiefs in a game that they had an opportunity to win, and then come back. And Zach even said it, and we all agreed with them. We thought they'd have this chip on their shoulder of like, hey, we just got beat. Now we got to go like, do what we got to do against the Raiders, which is a game they should probably be winning 9 times out of 10, if not 10 times out of 10. They lost again. So they're 0-2. And they're really struggling to figure out what they want to do with Derrick Henry. I mean, first half didn't look too hot. Then second half, they're like, okay, we're going to run it with them. They need to be a little more decisive about how they're going to get him involved, because why go sign him if you're not going to use him correctly, in my opinion? So I just want to throw that out there.
You sure?
You got it. Go, yes.
Because Senna, there's one thing you said about Gardner Minshew before you locked in on the Ravens. There is something to be said about the aura of certain quarterbacks.
Yeah,
Gardner Minshew has this shine about him. You just know when Gardner Minshew walks in that locker room, all the guys like, that's my dude.
Yeah.
And
it's the mustache.
Whatever it is, I call that your personal brand, right? Mm-hmm. If a quarterback who has a strong personal brand and they have a great locker room presence, they have great leadership abilities, they go and make the extra yard when that yard doesn't look possible. Like, they put their shoulder down when they're going for, you get the point. Those quarterbacks go a long way. And the underdog story with Antonio Pierce playing in the NFL as a head coach, he has those guys working hard for him because they all understand each other. It's a relatable system. So on paper and from the media perspective, no, a first-time head coach and, a quarterback that was, given up by Trevor Lawrence, who, oh, by the way, Gardner Minshew's better than Trevor Lawrence, hot take. It's not that hard to fathom. It's just the media writes these veterans off. And that's why when they come back around, it's like, oh my God, they're good. No, they were always good. They maybe weren't in the right system. It wasn't the right fit. So I think the Ravens, just to move on to the Ravens so we can move on that too, is I think they'll figure it out. They always do. It's the same head coach, the same quarterback, just some new players, but same foundation. Harbaugh's still there, so the Ravens are still going to win the NFC North. It's that simple.
I love that. Well,
I think Harbaugh's on the hot seat. Sorry, Zach, not to jump on. As a big Baltimore Orioles fan, my Twitter feed is all like Orioles and Ravens. They all want him fired. They all wish that McDonald had gotten hired instead of going to Seattle. And I agree with your point. It's the same team year over year, so they'll probably see a lot of the same success. But that also maybe comes with a lot of the same problems they've had every year, which is an inability to close out games. Like you guys mentioned in the playoffs last year and even regular season, they blow 3 or 4 leads like this every regular season. They got to figure it out. I don't know. So I think if it keeps up, Harbaugh might be gone. I don't know. We'll see.
I don't think it's a John Harbaugh issue personally. I think people get tired of the status quo and want to switch up, but I don't think people understand what happens when you get rid of a great veteran coach that's a Super Bowl champion and manages to put you in playoff contention. I think Lamar and that offense needs to find a way to get through. But yeah, losing McDonald is a big loss. One last shout out, Zach. I know we need to get into picks, and we'll keep that a little bit shorter because we won't do as much analysis on it. But I do want to give props to your Commanders and Jaden Daniels for getting his first win. Got to give the young guys props. He had a tough one week 1, and they got that dub in a very close game. So I did want to bring that up. You guys didn't even get a chance to roast my Colts this week, and I'm very grateful for that. But I at least wanted to give flowers where flowers are due. So, shout out Jaden Daniels.
No, I'm taking those flowers back because you got to put the ball in the end zone. And what is it? The real MVP is the kicker for Washington.
That's fair. But he got to win. Yeah.
But if you look at the numbers on the Commanders offense, it's one of the most efficient offenses in the NFL. To your point, between the 20s, that they need to fix the red zone. But the backfield, Eckler and Robinson are 2 of the most efficient backs in the entire league right now. The thing I'm going to mention, Terry McLaurin needs to step up because the one thing the offense needs is a true number 1 receiver, and he's been horrible across the board, both in terms of separation and blocking. So he's the guy that needs to step up, but the offensive line's been good. Jaden looks good. The offense has been fantastic. And
Jaden needs to run a little bit less, though, Evan. He is going to get even more hurt than he got hurt this weekend.
So the second half was perfect. I'm sure you guys didn't watch every play like I did, but the second half was ideal. There was more downfield passing. He didn't have to run as much. It looked exactly like it should look. So we'll see what it looks like against a better team now.
All right. Well, with that, we will transition from week 2 to week 3 and give our quick spread results based on the game. So the way this is going to work, Jared and Sierra, is I'm going to kind of MC this. Evan typically does, but with his voice and this cold, I'll take over here. I'm going to mention the matchup. I'm going to say the spread, and we're just going to give like a sentence answer over whether you think that a team's going to cover the spread or there's going to be a money line upset, whatever you guys think based on each matchup. And we'll just keep rotating here. I think probably because there's a lot of us, we'll just go in. We'll start with Jared and Sierra. Then we'll go to Cy, Evan, and I'll play cleanup, and we'll just stay in that order just for simplicity. And so as we start this, just before getting into it, we have our leaderboard standings. Thank you, Evan, for sending this over to me. So Evan went 6-10 this week, and he is actually under 500 for the year, ladies and gentlemen. He is 15-17. That is atrocious. That needs to be resolved. Ev, do you have any commentary?
I was so close to that Patriots upset. I thought they were in kneel down victory formation. Turns out they weren't. I was bragging about that pick, and then all of a sudden I'm like, wait, this game is in overtime. They're about to lose. So that was a big difference maker. Otherwise we'd be 500, But we get better as the season goes on here. So.
And then Cy and myself went 8-8 this week. Bad week for us. We're still trending 18-14. Me and then Cy 19-13 respectively. This is our first guest appearance, and so we are 0-0 right now with a guest account. But we do track the guest picks and we measure them against our own. So we're gonna jump into it. Week 3, starting with Sierra and Patriots at the Jets. So in New York Jets carry a 6.5 spread. Ladies first, Sierra, I'll start with you. Who do you got in this matchup?
I have the Jets. I don't know.
You have the Jets covering?
I would say by like 3.
Okay.
3.
I'm taking the spread on the Jets. I think Aaron Rodgers is starting to find his groove. He trusts Garrett Wilson more. Breece Hall's finding his footing. And guys, Braylon Allen, I know Breece Hall's been the overhyped running back, but Braylon Allen, the youngest player in the NFL, he is finding his, I wouldn't say, committee, but Braylon Allen's finding a spot on that offense, and Aaron Rodgers knows how to find weapons. And guys, the Jets look scary once they figure it out. I take the Jets -6.5.
Yep. Yeah, I'm going to jump in. Jets win and cover.
I have winning cover as well. I think it's a good spread, but I'll take them to cover.
Jets win and cover. As long as they stay under that 7, I'm all for the Jets. All right, next matchup here, Sunday, 1 p.m.er. We have the Chargers, fresh off a win against the mighty Panthers, against the Steelers, 2 sneaky 2-0 teams. The Steelers have been playing good defense. They're at home, and they actually carry a -2 spread. Sierra, kicking it over to you. What do you got?
I'm going to take the Steelers.
You're taking Steelers -2?
Yeah, I am.
Jared?
I just don't like Justin Herbert right now. I don't like the way he looks.
Yeah, I'm on the opposite. I'm taking the Chargers. Nope. I think the Steelers' offense is a fraud. I think that they've won 2 games because their defense is phenomenal.
This is because they played the Falcons last week and they won. We're going to take my pick.
No. It's you have your pick. I have my pick. There's no bias with this pick based off week 1. That's week 1. We're in week 3. Week 3, Chargers. John Harbaugh knows how to get that defense humming. Their offensive line looks phenomenal. And guys, I think the Steelers defense will have their hands full, and the offense is going to find stale again. And Russell Wilson will probably see him in week 4 once Justin Fields really shows his true colors against a real defense.
I'm going to go Chargers money line.
Yeah, I think one of these 2-0 teams is fake. The other is not. I think the Chargers might actually be for real. So I disagree. I actually think Fields is playing pretty well. It's just not that explosive. So, and I think the Chargers will handle the game.
Give me Chargers to a money line as well. All right, moving over to the next matchup, we got the Houston Texans, a tough team. They're tough. They're playing hard right now. They're going against the Vikings, 2 sneaky 2-0 teams again. Houston has a -2.5 spread despite going up to Skull Country in Minnesota. That's a tough place to play up in US Bank Stadium. Sierra, do you think Houston covers that -2.5, or do you think it's Vikings all day?
I think they cover. Absolutely.
Okay.
Houston covers.
Yeah.
I think the offense is going to make the Vikings defense struggle.
Yeah, Houston covers. I hope I'm wrong, but Houston covers.
I'm nervous about this one. I've got Minnesota winning at home.
Respect.
Wow. I got Houston winning and covering. I think they're legit. Next game, we got Philadelphia Eagles against the Saints. This is in New Orleans. Status on A.J. Brown, not sure if he's playing or not. But he's out. Okay, he's out.
It's
So,
going to be multiple weeks, yeah.
wow. So the Saints, knowing that information, the Saints have a -2.5 spread at home. Sierra, your way. What do you think?
I think they blow them out of the water, and Nick Sirianni loses his job.
One line prediction. Don't let her get you.
I love that.
Uh,
Jared?
I'm gonna take Eagles money line. I think they're that loss yesterday hurt, and they're gonna come back. I also, a little biased, I do want the Saints to lose.
That's fair. Philly wins, in my opinion. I think they go on the road and get a win.
Sierra, I love that prediction. I predicted Sirianni would get fired this year. It's not going to be this early. I disagree with you there, but I do think the Saints are going to win. I disagree with the spread by a couple points. But playing off Monday Night Football is hard, too. You have less rest, less time to prepare. Saints cover.
I think the Saints win and cover as well. I lean Sierra's way over Jared's. Next one here, we've got the Broncos at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Broncos 0-2, Buccaneers 2-0 under Baker Mayfield. Tampa Bay only has a 6.5 spread. It's still less than that 7-point touchdown. Sierra, who you got in this matchup?
I got to take the Bucs. I think they just look really good right now, and I wasn't expecting them to look this good, so I'm going to ride that wave.
Yeah, I like Denver. I think they're playing well. Or excuse me, not Denver. The Bucks. I think they're playing well. But I do think that Denver's defense is going to step up, and they're actually going to cover the spread.
Okay. Sorry, I think cut out for a second, but I'm going to go Bucks win and cover.
Yeah, this is my best bet. I think the Broncos are going to pick first in the draft, so I got the Bucks winning and covering.
You know, I've got the Bucks winning, but something about what Jared says makes sense. I just think the Broncos are going to play better, and I think Bo Nix is he's it for them. Just needs to make a couple more plays, but he'll make his adjustments. I've got the Bucks winning, but no cover as well. On to the next game here. We got Green Bay at Tennessee, and this is a -3 Tennessee spread. Keep in mind the Packers are playing with Malik Willis. Sierra, your way. Who you got?
Yeah, I'm going to have to take Tennessee, which in a normal situation I probably wouldn't, but
Taking the spread or money line.
what was the spread again?
-3.
Yeah, I'm going to take the spread. Absolutely.
I'm taking Tennessee -3. I think Will Levis and their coach had a little heart to heart, and he's going to bounce back. I also think on the other side, I think Will Levis is going to bounce back.
I think Malik Willis has a little homecoming game, and Matt LaFleur coaches him up, and I actually think I'm going to take Green Bay to win this one. And there's a world where Jordan Love plays too, so I'm taking Green Bay.
Interesting.
That's a good mention. Yeah, assuming Love's not in there, I think the Titans will do what the Colts did not and actually stack the box and stop Jacobs, at least to an extent. And Willis or Levis will avoid the catastrophic mistake he's made through each of the first two games. So I'll say no cover, though, because I'm not that confident they're going to win, but I'll say the Titans win.
I'll say Tennessee wins and covers, and I actually think the Tennessee's going to mop the floor. I just have that reason. They're going to get their first win in Nashville this weekend. All right, next game, we got New York Giants at the Browns. Oh, this is going to be an awful game. Apologies to anyone who turns this one on. But Cleveland is rocking a -6 spread. Sierra, your way. Who do you got?
I'm going to take the Browns. And I'm going to take this. No, I'm going to take money line.
Cool.
I'm taking the Browns -6. I think Daniel Jones gets benched after this week. I think the Browns defense is very good. I think they're going to make Daniel Jones' life miserable. I think it's going to be a clean sweep. Watson finds his footing against Giants' weak secondary.
Yeah, this could be like a 12-5 game or 12-4 game. I'm going to take the Browns win and cover.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say win and cover for really no particular reason, but
No, I completely agree with Jared here. For the exact same reasons, I think this is going to be the abysmal week of Daniel Jones. Just when we saw it was bad, it's going to get worse. This is actually my favorite spread of the week. Cleveland wins and covers -6. All right, we're now on to the 4:00 games, starting with the Panthers at Raiders. I hope we talk about this one the least. But the Vegas is holding the 5.5 spread at home. Sierra, who you got?
Well, we have to take the Raiders, and They cover. No explanation needed from anyone, I think. I think we could probably skip this one.
I think Andy Dalton responds to the calling. They cover the spread, but still lose the Raiders.
More bias.
Yeah, Raiders win, no cover though.
Bias, it's all facts. I think Andy Dalton steps up. They cover the spread. It's going to be a close game, but they still fall short because the Raiders actually have a team that believes in what they're doing.
Yeah, I'm 100% in congruence on Jared's analysis from earlier in the show on the Panthers, as well as his expectations for this game. I think they're going to play harder with Andy Dalton, the quarterback, but I don't think it's going to be enough to win, but I think it'll be close.
I'm a big win, no cover guy as well. On to the Dolphins and the Seahawks. Dolphins are starting Thompson, obviously with Tua, taking health measures into his own hands. And the Seahawks are 2-0, gents. I mean, close one against New England. They have a 4.5 spread at home. It's hard to play in Seattle. Sierra, who do you think wins this matchup?
I think just considering all the injuries and Tua, I think we're going to have to take the Seahawks.
Seahawks?
And I think they cover. Absolutely.
I want to take the Seahawks in this game, but there's just something that tells me something about Seattle and just what I know about Seattle. I don't know. They're just not a 3-0 team to me. I don't see them this year with their roster. Too many injuries. I think they're going to they're going to meet their match with the Dolphins defense. I'm going to take the Dolphins spread and the victory. I think they fight extra hard for Tua. That's their boy, and they're going to go and get the dub for him.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Seahawks win and cover personally. I think they have a good offense. I think I'll figure it out.
Yeah, I think it's too low for me. Skylar's going to have to prove it to me first, so I'll take the cover.
Well, it depends. Is Kenneth Walker playing in this game? Because that actually dictates whether I think the Seahawks win and cover.
I believe he's a multi-week absence as well, but I'm not positive.
Gotcha. Well, Zach Charbonnet, he's doing well. His name rhymes with Chardonnay. Give me the Seahawks win and cover. I'll do it. All right, this next matchup here, Detroit Lions at the Cardinals. This is going to be an epic matchup, and it's in Arizona. Both of these teams are traditionally playing in domes, so that's not too much of a factor here. Detroit has a -3 line right now. Sierra, who do you think wins, Lions or Cardinals?
I'm going to take the Cardinals.
Money line?
Money line. I think they just looked really hot coming off of last week.
Nice.
The script is there. Arizona jumps out to a quick lead. Second half, everything looks abysmal. Everyone's questioning Jared Goff, Hendon Hooker. Who do we play in the second half? It's so bad. Jared Goff comes back. Detroit storms back and beats Arizona in the fourth quarter. I would say Detroit wins and does not cover the spread. They win by a field goal at the last minute.
I actually want to tease this spread up. I think Detroit to win by more than what the spread currently is. I think what they did last week was a shell of who they are as an overall team, and I believe that they're going to – and I think Arizona isn't quite as good as people are making them out to be as an overall team. They have no pass rush. So I think Detroit wins and covers very handedly, actually.
I'm more in line with Jared, but I do think the Lions will find a way to win, but I think it's going to be a tough game for them.
Oh, but see, I lean more – wait, so Sierra, you mentioned Arizona wins, right?
Yeah, I think the Cardinals.
Okay, yeah, so I'm with Cy then. We're on this island together because I think Detroit's going to go up and pulverize, and I think that just that defensive line with Aiden Hutchinson and company is going to wreak havoc on Kyler Murray. But I actually do love the 52.5 and give me the over actually in that performance. I think it's going to be a massively high-scoring game, but I do think Detroit wins handedly.
Zach, quick note though, we may or may not have Amon-Ra play that game. That's one thing to keep in mind.
Oh, well, that changes everything, but oh, well, whatever. All right. This next game here, one of the final 425s, Baltimore Ravens at the Dallas Cowboys. It's going to be an AT&T Stadium again. The Ravens need a win. Cowboys need a win based on that horrific performance. And Baltimore covers a 1-point spread. Sierra, who you got?
My heart hurts for the Cowboys right now. My dad is a fan. My family's from there. I may not be a fan, but I do root for them occasionally. I think the Cowboys are going to beat the Ravens. Dak just got a huge contract. He needs a win. He played very poorly last game, 2 interceptions. I mean, their defense kind of kept them together pretty much in week 1. So I'm going to take the Cowboys, and I also hate the Baltimore Ravens with a burning passion. So it's just looking good all the way around for the Cowboys.
What's the over?
The over is 48.5.
Oh,
Give me
definitely over.
Give me the over on that game, and I don't want to pick sides. I truly believe this is going to be a slugfest.
No, you have to pick a side. You have to pick a side. That's so cool. The Cowboys.
All right, I'm going to take Baltimore because they will not start a season 0-3, and I think Cowboys already have one. It's better to have two great teams be 1-3 than one of them be 0-3 and have big questions.
Well, I can't believe I'm saying the Ravens are going to start a season 0-3, but I think they're going to go to Dallas and have Dallas, and Dallas is going to win that game. I think Dallas's defense is going to show up at home, and I think they're going to win that game.
Yes.
I'm with Cy. It blows my mind that Baltimore could start 0-3, but it's a tough spot for them. I'm surprised that they're favored.
I don't.
Yeah. Sorry, guys. I got to go with Jared here. I think Baltimore comes in and they beat the Cowboys handedly. I think that. I don't think the Cowboys defense is atrocious. All right. It's atrocious. So, all right. One of the final games here. Who do we got? Oh, we actually have one more 425. And then we'll speed along through this. We got 3 more matchups to go. 49ers at Rams. Christian McCaffrey probably will play. Rams are 0-2. San Francisco holds a 7.5 spread.
Regardless, I'm taking the Rams, not the Rams, the 49ers, McCaffrey in. I'm still taking 49ers.
I'm taking 49ers all the way.
Yep.
Take the spread. I think the Rams are depleted with wide receiver injuries. Matthew Stafford is going to have to find his new Puka Nacua and Jordan Whittington, I believe is his name. Preseason sensation. I think we're going to see some new faces. Everyone's going to be like running to free agency to be like, who's who? Let me just take him because everyone else is hurt. But I think the 49ers cover this with these.
The issue is even if Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua were healthy, that offensive line cannot block a fly. I want Matt Stafford to sit until those receivers get back. I got the 49ers by 1 million.
Yeah, McVay's always keeping it close with Shanahan. If he can keep this one close, then I might have to give him some props because, I don't know. San Francisco winning cover.
Rams and the Arizona Cardinals typically always keep it close, and we just saw a blowout. So I'm afraid I would typically agree with you, but I think the luck has run its course.
Yeah, I've got 49ers winning cover as well. Not overthinking this one. All right, we get into the 2 final matchups. I'm excited for this one. Chiefs at Falcons in Atlanta, 8:20 p.m. game, prime time. Kansas City has a 3.5 spread. Sierra, we'll kick it over to you.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Chiefs, and I'm going to take the spread. Also, I think Carson Steele has a touchdown, and Mahomes has 2 interceptions.
Atlanta's going to cover the spread, and it's going to be.
Please,
it's within
That's just too much. It's too much.
Sarah,
give us another week at least, at least 48 hours. I don't know.
Whose turn is it? It's 3.5. It's 3.5, right? The spread.
3.5 Kansas City.
The Falcons will cover the spread. We will be fine. It's going to be a close game. The question is who makes that one mistake, that one penalty? The Chiefs, the Falcons, both games came down to penalties, inches, one drop ball. I think we're going to see a very similar game, so I think it will be close. I think Atlanta will take the spread. Obviously, as a Falcons fan, I'm going to take Atlanta to win it, as just my optimism has always led me to believe they will always win.
I will say, historically, they've only played 10 times. The Chiefs have won 7, and last time we saw each other was in 2020, and they won.
That was 2020.
That's some next gen stats over here, Sal. I'll kick it over your way.
Very, very different. Okay, so Isaiah Pacheco is out, which is going to be really a struggle for the Chiefs to not have him. However, I give myself 1 week a season to pick against the Chiefs because every other week I will pick the Chiefs to win and cover. And this week will not be that week because the Chiefs will win and cover. Sorry, Zach.
That build up.
Had to do it to you.
I think the Chiefs got lucky to win last week. I definitely love the spread, as Jared mentioned. I might as well take Atlanta to cover. I think they're going to be riding high off that win. One shout out with Pacheco being out, I think this explodes Rashee Rice's fantasy stock to an even bigger level than it already is. Like they're just going to be dipping out screens and slants to him all day long and just rely less on the running game. So just a mention there, but might as well take Atlanta on the money line here.
And give me Atlanta money line as well. Moving on to, we actually have 2 Monday night games, and we're going to start with the Jacksonville Jaguars at the Bills. Jaguars need a win, but like Jared had mentioned earlier, I think Trevor Lawrence is just slacking. Right now, the spread is Buffalo -5.5 in Buffalo. Sierra, who you got?
Considering it's in Buffalo and what the Jags have been doing, I'm gonna have to take Buffalo, and I think they cover.
Buffalo covers. Jacksonville, Trevor Lawrence. I say coming out of college, he's not it. He was always overhyped. They want a new quarterback every year to talk about. CJ Stroud's the guy everyone should be talking about, not Trevor Lawrence. I think Buffalo Bills cover.
Yeah, go Gamecocks. We got screwed last week. Bills win and cover.
Bills win and cover.
Bills win and cover. All right, final matchup. This is going to be an exciting one because it involves my man E's team over here, but it's the Washington Commanders at the Cincinnati Bengals. Bengals have not been playing well. T. Higgins probably comes back. Jamar Chase seems angry, ready to rock and roll. This could be dangerous for the Commanders in terms of playing them as 0-2, but nevertheless, Cincinnati is a 7.5 spread at home, just north of a touchdown. Sierra, who you got in this one?
I'm gonna have to take Washington. I don't think Cincinnati looks that good. I think Jamar Chase is a total diva. And considering, I don't know if T. Higgins is coming back or not, but yeah, I'm just going to have to go with Washington on this one. I think I will say, one player that I'm excited to see on the Bengals is Yoshi. And I hope he takes Jamar Chase today.
I love it.
A little dramatic. I think
not dramatic at all.
I think Washington covers the spread. I think it'll be a close game. I do think Jamar Chase, this is actually his breakout game. I think Washington's secondary is one of the weakest in the NFL. They've proven that. We don't need to drop names. So I do think we do see some Joe Burrow throws that brings him back in the conversation. But one of my season hot takes is I don't think the Cincinnati Bengals are going to make the playoffs regardless of what they do. I think the Bengals are going to be that team that causes disruption in the season, causes issues. That's why I'm taking Washington, even though it's a young team. I think they cover.
Yeah, this is one of my favorite picks of the week, and I mean this with no offense to Evan, but I think St. Juice and Evan Forbes, Emmanuel Forbes, I'm really sorry to you guys. I think Jamar Chase is going to have like 200 yards. I think T. Higgins is going to have like 150. I think Iosivas is going to have like 8 touchdowns. I think Joe Burrow and the Bengals are going to go off this weekend. It has less to do with the Commanders and more to do with how motivated they are against the bad secondary. So I think the Bengals are going to go off this week.
Yeah, I'm not as convinced that T. Higgins is all of a sudden going to come back. Like, I feel like it's week to week, and then it's been like 6 weeks. So I do think that matters because, like, Ben St. Juste is at least okay, but the rest of the guys, like, that we're trying to cover neighbors are a disaster, like you mentioned. So I do think the number's a little too high. Like, the Bengals will eventually get it going, and I think they'll find a way to win. But I will take the Commanders to cover.
This is my favorite spread of the week. I know I've said that like 2 or 3 times now, but I think the Bengals win and cover, and I think T. Higgins has at least a touchdown.
If he plays.
I think he has 100 yards and a touchdown. I think that's my hot take for the Washington Commanders Cincinnati Bengals game. T. Higgins will have 100 yards and a touchdown in his debut. Jamar Chase is going to eat as well.
This is another storyline we're not even talking about with that spread, the LSU versus LSU quarterbacks.
Yep.
I don't know if anyone's talked about that quite yet, but
I think that's why it was prime time.
Yeah. I'm guessing why. Yeah, that's why they got Monday night, because I was like, why is this game on Monday night? And then it must be that.
That's going to be exciting in itself. But here's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking Washington's front 7, I think, caused Joe Burrow a lot of issues. And I think Jaden Daniel really gets his way in the run game. I think it's going to be really, really fun to watch, though.
I know Mike.
The problem is the edge rushers have been awful. Like, so you can pretty much just double team Deron Payne and Allen, who hasn't been good himself, but you can pretty much just double team those guys and we don't get any pressure through the first 2 games. So I think that the offense is just going to need to keep Burrow off the field is basically why. And I think they can. So I think that's why they'll keep it close. But
it's called the Dan Quinn effect. You get an awesome defensive coordinator for one team. They come on your team and then they forget how to call defensive plays. We know all about it.
I love that.
That's true. Well, hey, everybody, this is so much fun recapping week 2, getting into our week 3 picks. Guys, we had a blast welcoming on our first guest of season 4. Jared and Sierra. And they're great friends in Charlotte. We're on the same soccer team. They graciously invited me to be a part of. And we also are avid Falcons fans. Well, whenever the Chiefs are not playing the Falcons. But thank you guys so much for coming on. And if for any guests, if you were watching this, you agree, disagree with us, let us know in the comments section. We're ready for your smoke and we're ready to debate. So much love, everybody. That was Mondays Down South.
Woo!